So first, before we even get started, let's talk designs. When you're looking for a design to put on a t-shirt, if you're like me and may have made mistakes before where you choose a design that is too dense and it results in a puckered t-shirt. Now here are two designs that I've done, and while they do look very nice, they're about 50,000 stitches each, and they are quite large, very dense. If I were to try to put these on a thin t-shirt, the result would be very disastrous. You'd see puckering and rippling everywhere. So these kinds of designs, while very nice, we would save them for something such as the back of a denim jacket or a nice canvas tote bag. When looking for a design to put on a t-shirt, you want to choose a design that's light in stitches and does not have very many dense areas. So here is a nice design, one that I've done, and this would be perfect for a t-shirt. You can see it is a good large size, so it would go on the front chest of a t-shirt. So it is big, but there are not a lot of stitches in between. So you can see it's just pretty much an outline and a very minimal fill. This is exactly the type of design you want to put on a t-shirt to help reduce puckering and get the best results possible. Now that you've got your design picked out for your t-shirt, let's talk materials. In order to embroider on a t-shirt, you're going to need obviously stabilizer, and we're using two different kinds. First, we're going to use a layer of lightweight cutaway stabilizer. Because we're embroidering on a t-shirt, something that stretches, you always want to use cutaway so it does not tear or distort the design. However, for added stability on top of the cutaway, we are going to use a layer of medium weight tearaway, and this is going to just help add some structure when we are embroidering. We are laying down the cutaway stabilizer first, touching the knit fabric, and then the cutaway is going on top. So when you're done, you just rip off the tearaway and the cutaway will remain on the shirt. We're also going to be using some basting spray. This is just temporary adhesive spray. We're spraying this between the t-shirt and the stabilizer to keep them intact. And then we are going to be using a stretch needle. So when embroidering on knit fabrics, you can use a normal embroidery needle. However, you do get a little better results if you're using a stretch needle or a jersey needle, because these needles are made for knit fabric, so it's not going to tear. And lastly, of course, you need your embroidery thread. We are just using our black, and I'm going to be using metallic for my design. You're also going to want some chalk, preferably in a contrasting color from your shirt so you can easily mark where to place your design. A ruler would be helpful to help you find the center of your shirt. And then obviously your embroidery hoop, and if your hoop does come with a measuring template, this is also useful to make sure your design is centered on the shirt as well. So now that we have all our materials, let's get to hooping and preparing the shirt for embroidery. So I have my shirt here, and I'm just using a heavy cotton from Gildan that you can purchase at craft stores or you can easily find online. Ideally, if it's a thicker type knit, it'll do better versus a thin sheer knit. And the first thing we want to do is measure to find the middle. So we take our ruler and our chalk, and since this is a V-neck, we can kind of easily see this is the center point. So I'm just going to lightly draw in my white chalk a straight line down. Now we need to identify where exactly we want to place the shirt. So it's always useful if you have a test sew out of your design, or if you've printed out a template of the design to kind of get an idea where you want to place it. So for this design, I think just having it right there would be good. So now I'm going to, and using my template here, I can just get an idea of lining it up where it'll go in the hoop. So I'm going to mark the top and bottom of my hoop section so I know where to place it. Now I can remove my template design and then mark the middle. So now we have the center of our design. Next, we need to place the stabilizer and then hoop it. So the stabilizer is going on the back, and since I've drawn my chalk on the front, I'm just going to take some pins to mark the top and bottom of my hoop, so I know where to place the stabilizer on the back. Now we can turn the shirt inside out. So here's the shirt inside out. Again, we have the middle right here and the top and bottoms of my hoop. Now my design is going to be sewn horizontal. So just getting an idea of where it should go right here. I've already cut my stabilizers out. We have a layer of cutaway and a layer of tearaway. I'm just kind of making sure everything would fit there. So first we are going to put a layer of our lightweight cutaway stabilizer down. And that is where we're going to use the basting spray to adhere it to the fabric. So I like to put the basting spray on the stabilizer versus the shirt just because it doesn't leave as much of a residue. So we're just going to lightly spray. So place it down and pat it down to make sure there are no air bubbles and ripples underneath. And then we're going to do the same thing with the cutaway. Spray a layer of basting spray and put the tearaway stabilizer down. So now we have our 2 layers of stabilizer. Now we can turn the shirt back to its right side. So with the shirt right side out, make sure there are no wrinkles or anything. Right here you can see there was a little one. So you want to make it nice and flat and straight. And then we're ready to hoop. We can remove these pins now. Now, this is probably my least favorite part of the whole process, hooping this, relatively small shirt on the largest hoop. I always have trouble. But let's see if we can do this. So again, because our design is horizontal, we want to make sure we put the hoop in the right direction. Put it this way, that wouldn't work. So make sure your hoop is in the right direction, and we are going to slide this under. So really from here, once I have my bottom hoop under the shirt, I will place my hoop template on top of the top part of the hoop, and I kind of lightly place it where the center should be, and then underneath I can feel around to get the bottom hoop into the right spot. Might take a while, but eventually you can snap it into place. Okay, so we have our shirt hooped, and when you are hooping, you want to make sure that the shirt is not being stretched out, because when you unhoop it, it would shrink back and that would result in puckering. So we have a nice, even, flat surface, and just take a peek underneath to make sure that there is no stabilizer or parts of the shirt stuck under the hoop. So we have a clear under hoop section. So now we can go ahead for the fun part and get embroidering. So here's our shirt. I've just taken it off the hoop. We can see it looks pretty nice. First thing we want to do is remove the stabilizer. We also have these trim threads on the back. I'll just cut the long ones so they don't get snagged. So this first layer that we see is the tearaway. Now, while it is tearaway, I know your first instinct is just to rip it off. This is a knit item, and it can be delicate. So you want to very gently tear this away so you don't rip the fabric. So I got most of it off. I'm not going to bother with taking off the tearaway that's in the face. Over time that will just fall off on its own. Now we have the cutaway underneath, and this is where we want to be extra careful. So we're just going to trim around the shape of the design to remove the cutaway. Now here you just want to be very, very careful, because when you are cutting, it is very easy to snip the shirt and then you'll have a hole in your shirt. So just be very extra careful when you are doing this part. So that's about as much as I'm going to cut. I'm really lazy when it comes to cleaning up the back of my shirts, but it's the back, nobody's gonna see it, so for me that is good enough. So now we can turn it right side out. And you can see we have a pretty cool looking shirt. Now, a couple things you might notice. We have still our chalk line, and then, we have what's called hoop burn. From when I hooped it, it left a mark. Now, to get rid of that, relatively easy. I just take a damp cloth, and you can just kind of rub out the marks until they're gone. It'll also go away over time as you wear the shirt. The chalk will dust off. And there we have it. Our shirt is finished. We can see we have the design laying nice and flat because we chose a light design that was not too dense in stitches. And we used the 2 layers of stabilizer. The first layer was a lightweight cutaway, and the second layer was a medium weight tearaway. And that gave us great results. So thanks for joining me today. I hope you found this video useful. Hope you go out there and have a fun time embroidering all your t-shirts.